Now, what I'd like to talk to you about is my own trauma. I'm going to be using myself as a case study. Some researchers or trauma specialists will quote research rather than talk about maybe the trauma they've experienced. But in this case, I would like to kind of have you relate to some of the things that I've experienced. And then I want to also take you through how do you change that? How do you get through it? Not only how do you survive, but how do you thrive? In my childhood, I experienced a father that was an alcoholic, also abusive towards my mother and towards my sister and I. And this was very traumatic. There was domestic violence, there was arguing late at night, there was beatings, there was sexual abuse. And so growing up, I really was fearful. It affected my self-esteem. It affected the way I saw authority figures. It affected even the way I saw men. And so in my marriage, when I got married, that was also a difficult time because I didn't know how to relate where there wasn't chaos. So I was creating all of this chaos based on the trauma that I experienced when I was younger. And these experiences have been so helpful working with children that have experienced trauma because I understand the lasting effects that chronic negative situations can have on the psyche because you really forget who you are. You are just clinging to a lot of insecurities and a lot of fear. And that fear creates chaos. So it's no wonder that in my marriage, there was chaos. And it even got worse as the marriage continued because at one point I was homeless with my infant son. We were sleeping in a cot because my ex-husband had decided that he wanted the house. And in order to get the house, he had to kick us out. And so we became homeless. I was devastated. I had no family. I was in a strange city. And I had no money because the credit cards and all the debit cards were cut off. So when you experience severe loss, this really creates a situation where you blame others and you continue that cycle of hate. I call that cycle of fear and hate and chaos the human hamster wheel. And I developed the human hamster wheel because I could see the behaviors that I had. I could see what it stemmed from, the domestic violence, how it made me feel, and also the actions or reactions that I would have based on these events. So I call it the human hamster wheel. I go into more detail in the book and also on the online course. But the human hamster wheel is basically your ego. And when hurtful things happen and scary things happen, when you've experienced loss, that's when we get caught up in the suffering and the struggle. And that's the human hamster wheel, but there is a way out of it. In the I Am Solution, I talk about the five-pointed star. The five-pointed star, which I'll be talking about later on, is something that we all can use in order to access the power, the safety, and the love that will overcome fear. So stay tuned to the I Am Solution.